The negative publicity about St. John's Wort that came out several years ago, around 2002, 2003, was basically because several government-funded clinical trials on St. John's Wort, the leading German extract that most of the clinical studies have been done on for depression, came out negative as far as their findings in these U.S. trials funded by the government. So some health authorities are saying, based on those two trials, well, look, we've tried St. John's Wort, the evidence shows it doesn't work. However, if you look at the totality of the evidence on St. John's Wort, based on a recent review by the Cochrane collaboration just in the last year, or Cochrane's a British-based and worldwide organization that basically reviews studies on various medicines and medical practices and tries to pool them to see what's the evidence, based on all the research. 29 clinical studies on St. John's Wort show that it does work in mild to moderate cases of depression, better than placebo, and in some cases, in some studies, actually head-to-head against some of the conventional pharmaceutical antidepressant drugs with significantly less adverse effects.
I had read that, and that's just astonishing.
It's astonishing. Yet that medical authorities in the United States continually, and medical critics continually dismiss St. John's Wort based on the results of 2 trials instead of looking at the results of almost 30 trials totally. Now, the other bad press that St. John's Wort has received, there was the one about efficacy, is about its interactivity with conventional drugs.
Correct.
And this is a legitimate concern. There's cardiac medications, there's the possibility of contraceptive drugs, female contraceptives, oral contraceptives, although I've seen mixed information on this. Initially, there was a number of what they call St. John's Wort babies coming out of Scandinavia because women who were taking the pill were taking St. John's Wort too, and some got pregnant and couldn't figure out what happens until they figured out maybe that St. John's Wort lowered the levels of the contraceptive drug to the level that they were ineffective, and the women got pregnant. At the same time, a recent study that came out has suggested that St. John's Wort does not act on contraceptives, so that the information is not yet, in my view, clarified.
All right.
If you go beyond St. John's Wort, it's interesting. It appears that even though there is legitimate concern for the potential of many herbs to interact with conventional pharmaceutical drugs, that in reality, if these interactions do occur, they're subclinical and basically, in many cases, don't really have any adverse effect on the person taking the medications. For example, a 2008 study conducted at the Mayo Clinic on over 1,700 patients found that over 700 of them were actually taking 5 different types of herbs generally with their conventional medications. And apparently, in this 700 or 800 groups of people, numbers of people, in taking these herbs and conventional drugs at the same time, there was no incidence in which any adverse event or lack of effectiveness of the drugs they were taking was monitored either by the patients or by their physicians. So, according to that one study, at least, which was a real-world study, not experimental, it appears that in many cases, concerns about herb-drug interactions may be overly played.
Overly played, kind of an alarmist reaction.
Right. I don't want to dismiss it because it's real.
That's fine. Yes.
There are herb-drug interactions. However, I think they occur far less than we actually are led to believe by some people who are banging the drum loudly. And at the same time, there's, if you have to look at it, what about the drug-drug interactions? I mean, some people are taking so many pharmaceutical drugs, and in many cases, there's no real research to really show that they may be safe when taken together.